Welcome in, everyone, to another edition of Right on Rangers Live, coming at you on a Tuesday after a tough luck Rangers loss. I say tough luck, but honestly, it's just kind of more of the same from this Rangers offense, especially. We're going to get into everything. There's not as much to talk about tonight, especially in games where the offense does literally nothing. Minus what a fortunate run scored at the end of the game, thanks to an error, a miscommunication between McKinstry and the Tigers center fielder. Right, thanks for gifting us the run so we could avoid the embarrassment of getting shut out. So we're going to get into all that in just a second, y'all. But here at Right on Rangers, we cover pretty much everything sports, but we put a little bit of an extra emphasis on all the teams we love from the great state of Texas, including the Rangers and especially the Rangers during baseball season. Thanks for joining us tonight, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, or TikTok. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for choosing to follow along on this journey, this 2024 season. Man, it's had some ups and downs so far, but here we are. Let's go ahead and let's talk this one out. So, first of all, some numbers that we shared before the game. Dane Dunning, in his last three starts against the Tigers, 21 strikeouts in those three games combined, had not given up more than 3 earned runs in any one of those starts. And that was true tonight as well. Of course, Dane Dunning for the Rangers goes 5, what I would say, very strong innings. He only gave up 5 base runners total. Only 1 walk from Dunning, which I think is always a really encouraging thing. Something with Dunning that we know that he can sometimes fall victim to is the free pass, giving away free bases. So to see Dunning only give up 5 base runners tonight, incredible, phenomenal performance from him. Look, obviously, he could have been sharper, but I like what Bruce Bochy said in the post game today. I don't know if y'all caught it. Bochy basically said, you should be able to give up 3 runs and still win a ball game. You should be able to afford 3 runs to the other team and still be able to win a game. And I couldn't agree more. We have to kind of nitpick the relievers and the starters when we lose, because the offense is only scoring 1 or 2 runs. It's like last night, you saw, I wouldn't say a lot, but I saw a fair number of Rangers fans last night after Leclerc gives up the home run to Rogers in the 8th inning with 2 outs. Everybody jumps on Leclerc like it's his fault we lost the game. Really, I mean, for me, it's the offense. Leclerc giving up the home run, obviously not ideal. Leclerc needs to be better, needs to limit the teams as much as he possibly can when he comes in. But I can't blame Leclerc for last night, just like I can't blame Dunning for giving up 3 runs tonight. You should be able to give up 3 runs and still win a ball game, regardless of how the offense is doing. So for me, not going to blame Dunning, not going to nitpick Dunning tonight. Dunning pitched phenomenally. I thought he pitched very well, considering Dane Dunning is only a couple weeks removed from the injured list. So I'm not getting on Dunning by any stretch of the imagination. I really feel like the Rangers need to solely lock in, and Rangers fans need to solely lock in on the offense as the problem, if you weren't already. I know a lot of us are already there, but if you weren't locking in on that already, that's really the only thing we need to be complaining about when we're giving up 3 runs, and our bullpen is giving up 0. So Tinoco, Latz, Anderson combined to go 4 innings, 2 hits, 3 strikeouts, no walks. The bullpen pitched flawlessly tonight, and yet nothing to show for it in the win column. This offense is not good right now. And there's a few things I think that we can hash out and talk about when it comes to the offense. Some that we've done already, some that we've mentioned, some suggestions that we've thrown out there already, but maybe some new ones. So we'll get to that in just a little bit. By the way, the big lead for today. So I was joking with my buddies during the game, during another painful offensive performance, and I said to them, the best bet in baseball right now is Rangers under 4.5 runs. You could even go Rangers under 3.5 runs right now. You would be quite wealthy if for the past month you just bet Rangers under 4.5 runs. In fact, I went back and looked at the schedule. The Rangers have scored under 4.5 runs in 18 of their last 22 games. 18 of their last 22 games, the Rangers have scored 4 runs or lower. I mean, that is an incredibly bad stretch. And in some of those games, like I said, it would probably still be a pretty good record under 3.5, 3 runs or less in that 22 game stretch. If I'm not mistaken, I think there were about 3 or 4 games in the 22 game stretch where we scored exactly 4 runs. So you're still probably 15-8 if you're betting under 3.5. So the fact that there's that many stacking up where we're scoring under 4.5, under 3.5, really tells you all you need to know. Best bet in baseball right now, taking the Rangers on the under, whatever their total is. You might get unfortunate and they might have a great offensive performance. But look, in 18 of the last 22 games, the Rangers have scored 4 runs or less. Not good. Now, let's talk about some possible solutions. I think there are a few, and we're going to check in the comments and everything. I see some people commenting from YouTube, stuff like that. We'll check in the comments here in about 2-3 minutes. So I think the number one issue is right now the Rangers don't have a 3-hole hitter. And we know Josh Young is coming back probably in about 3-4 weeks, right? I'm not putting all my eggs in that basket. This does not feel like a team that is one man away. This lineup doesn't feel just Josh Young away from getting back to where they were. That's not how they feel to me right now. Now, is baseball weird sometimes? And one guy comes back and suddenly the lineup perks up and guys start hitting. Yeah, it can happen. But I just don't feel like right now this team is a one guy away lineup. I don't feel like that is where the Rangers are at currently. Feels like they're about 2 or 3 guys away right now. And I think we've talked a number of times on the show that the Rangers do need to look out elsewhere outside of the organization. They need to look and see who is available out there. What capital are they willing to give up? Who in the minors are they willing to give up? I mean, I'm assuming that this team and the organization, the front office, still wants to compete in October this year, right? I'm assuming that they want to be aggressive and still try and piggyback off what they did last year. That's my assumption. Look, if Davis is kind of punting on making any more additions, taking on any more salary, then you know what? I don't know what to say. I'm assuming, though, that the Rangers will be looking at what they can add as the trade deadline nears. But if they continue to drop games, you're going to play yourself into a spot where you're really not wise to do that. I think the number that I've thrown out there is 10. If the Rangers get 10 games under 500 at any point before the trade deadline, I really don't know how you can be a buyer. I think you can hold your cards. I don't think you need to be a seller. There might be a couple of guys on 1-year deals, like, for instance, and I mean, I don't like talking about this, but an Andrew Heaney. Heaney's on the last year of his deal, I believe. He opted in. If the Rangers are 10 games under 500 as the trade deadline nears, they probably will look to move some of those guys on 1-year contracts. I pray and hope it doesn't get to that point. I hope that the Rangers can hang around 500. And if they do, I think there'll be buyers at the deadline. But I think you've got to go out and you've got to get a right-handed bat. You can't count on Josh Young to be the savior of this lineup. And I'm not counting on Wyatt Langford or Evan Carter to suddenly become the saviors of the lineup either. I've said a number of different times, the Rangers front office this year, they gambled that Wyatt Langford and Evan Carter were going to contribute. And when I say contribute, I mean drive-in runs, right? Wyatt Langford and Evan Carter were supposed to be 1 through 5 guys for us this year, right? That's what the beginning of the season was like. At the beginning of the season, we had Evan Carter hitting 3-hole and we had Wyatt Langford hitting 5-6. Langford was even hitting 3-spot occasionally. So that tells you what the Rangers' plan was all along. We absolutely planned for Evan Carter and Wyatt Langford to be in the top 5 of our order. So when you're not getting any production out of 2 guys that you counted on, being in the top 5 of your order and driving in runs consistently, that is going to result in this, what we have right now. So for me, here's what I would do to fix things. I'm going out to get a right-handed bat. I think that there are a number of different teams that you can look at right now that are out of it, that are 10 games under 500 already, and might be willing to potentially deal. I think about a guy that we just played against in Miami. I think about a Jake Berger, third baseman for the Marlins. Right-handed bat. He's had some good years, played for the White Sox. I think about a Luis Robert for the White Sox. You might be able to get him. Don't know what the asking price is. I think about some of the players that the Mets have. Could you go get a Pete Alonso? Nate Lowe? Is Ezekiel Duran right now at first base? How's that working? Alonso could be a great first baseman. He's not having a great year this year. Maybe you get him at a little bit of a lower value. I don't know. A JD Martinez, another guy, another right-handed bat that I think the Rangers would be well off to at least check on. The Rangers need a right-handed bat. Look, if you don't like any of the names that I just said, go find me another right-handed bat on a bad team that's going to be a seller. I'm open to it. These are just names I'm throwing out right now. I'm not married to any of these options. But the point is, we need to be looking at right-handed bats on bad teams that could contribute. I'd like to see first base. Personally, I'd like to see that spot get improved upon at the trade deadline. If you can get a guy, a right-handed bat that can play some first base, that would be very ideal. I think we've seen that Nate Lowe has spurts and moments, and I love Nate Lowe. Great clubhouse guy, awesome teammate. This is no hate on Nate Lowe. But let's be real. Nate Lowe petered out in the postseason, was on a terrible slump really for most of September and into October, and then started out well this year and has looked absolutely terrible the past 3-4 weeks. And I think Evan Grant, Rangers writer for the Dallas Morning News, had a really good point. Right now, Josh Smith is outslugging Nate Lowe. And I know Josh Smith has maybe played a few more games than Nate Lowe, but there is no way in an AL lineup that your utility man, Josh Smith, should be outslugging your first baseman. No way that should be happening. So the Rangers, I think, need to fill both the DH spot potentially, but I'd like to see them get a right-handed first baseman that can at minimum spell Nate Lowe when there's a lefty starter and potentially be a DH guy. That would be phenomenal. I think that's a great starting point. Look, I know a lot of people are rooting for Wyatt Langford, rooting for Evan Carter. I am too. I'm not rooting for anybody on the Rangers to fail. That makes no sense if you're a fan. I want to see every Rangers player do well, even the guys that I personally think are replaceable. I want to see everybody on this Rangers team do well. But there are some realities here. And right now, the reality is we've got Josh Smith as our 3-hole hitter, and we've got Robbie Grossman as our 3-hole hitter against lefties. Just not good. That's not going to win you a World Series. I hope Josh Young comes back, solves a lot of problems, but I'm not super hopeful that we're just one guy, that we're just Josh Young away from being a great offense again. So not trying to gloom and doom, but I think the Rangers need to be proactive, go out and get a bat. And I would send Wyatt Langford and Evan Carter. I think Evan Carter's just de facto going to be going down to AAA for a rehab stint. But I'd probably give Wyatt Langford a little bit of a breather down in AAA too. At this point, what are you really losing by sending Wyatt Langford down for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, a month? I'm not saying you got to do it for the whole season, but at this point, Wyatt Langford's hitting 225. I'd love to see him get on a hot streak, start driving the ball, extra base hits, home runs. I know a lot of people are of the mindset, just let Wyatt Langford play it out. I was of that mindset when the Rangers were over 500. When the Rangers were over 500, 5 games up, 6 games up, whatever they were a few weeks ago before the 6-game losing streak and the offense just went in the crapper. I mean, I think what I would say is now that we're at the spot we're at, we don't really have time for a lot of these guys to figure it out. I mean, at some point, you got to roll with the guys you got. but we need production. You're not at a spot where you can afford to let guys struggle, figure it out. We thought we were going to be in a place like that at the beginning of the season with how good this offense was. Wyatt Langford, Evan Carter could potentially struggle when you've got guys like Simeon Seager and Josh Young mashing the baseball all over the yard. But when you don't have that, I know Simeon Seager have looked good of late, but when you don't have the offense clicking consistently, you can't really afford to just give up a dead spot in the lineup for a guy to figure it out, even if they are one of your top prospects. So that's what I'd be doing. And look, who knows what the Rangers are going to do themselves. I'll be very interested to see. Right now, I don't think there's a whole lot for the Rangers to do. Bochy can toy with the lineup all he wants, but I really don't know if that's going to make a difference. And I know some people are frustrated with how much Bochy toys with the lineup. I'm not of that mindset. I honestly don't mind the changes that Bruce Bochy makes to this lineup on a daily basis. It can't hurt. And for me, I can only speak from my own experience. Some of y'all know, and I don't say this as like a humble brag or anything, because I was never close to being a Major League Baseball player or even a D1 baseball player, but I played a little ball in college, a little ball in high school. And I can only tell you from my experience, it never bothered me when I got moved up or down in the lineup. I don't know, maybe some guys are just that locked in that if you move them one or two spots, they become a different hitter. I would submit if that's the kind of hitter that we've got, the kind of hitters that we've got on this team, that's a problem. You should be able to hit anywhere in the lineup on any given day. You should be able to block out whatever mental stuff you have going on about the fact that you got moved down from the 2 spot to the 6 spot in the order. So I don't understand the argument of how it messes with anybody. You're in the box, you're one-on-one with the pitcher. I know from my experience, I'm not thinking about when I'm facing a pitcher and they're throwing 90 plus at me. I'm not thinking, man, coach moved me down. I'm not worried about that. I'm just locked in. And so my point is, whether Josh Smith is hitting 3 or 5, do you think when he gets in the box, he's really worried about that? So for me, I don't think that messing with the lineup is a big deal at all. In fact, I think it's probably the right thing to do considering how bad the offense has been. All right, let me get to the comments. So that was a long rant. Appreciate y'all hanging with me. I think I'm gonna read some of these out so the people that are listening can see them. But John says definitely not the pitching. Agreed with that. He says our starters have taken some tough losses with zero offense. Yes, sir. We have to play some small ball to manufacture some freaking runs. Preaching to the choir. I've said this so many times. Steal bases. That's one thing that I cannot believe we don't do more, because the Rangers have 4 guys on the team that are among the top fastest in MLB, right? Leote, Duran, Simeon, Langford, Carter, 5 guys right there that are probably top 25 fastest in MLB. I don't know why the Rangers don't steal bases more. Now, look, they didn't have a lot of base runners tonight, but they had 3 base runners. That's not really going to cut it. So I do agree, though, playing small ball. And look, small ball doesn't have to be bunting. It can be, but small ball doesn't have to be bunting. I think there's a couple things to consider about bunting that I've had to even kind of educate and change my mind on. Right now, I do think it's fair to say I don't think that there's a lot of an emphasis right now. I'm not saying everywhere, but I don't think there's a huge emphasis at high schools and colleges right now on bunting. And I don't think even in minor league systems, there's a big emphasis on bunting. My point is, I don't think a lot of guys really know how to bunt very well. And I know that the response might be, these are big leaguers, they have to. Some guys just don't get asked to bunt very much. You have to understand, a lot of the guys that make it to the major leagues were the best hitters on their high school teams, the best hitters on their college teams. Those guys weren't bunting when they were playing. Wyatt Langford was not bunting at Florida. So you think that Wyatt Langford should be able to because he's a big leaguer, but the reality is he probably hasn't done it a lot in his career. And I'm just using Wyatt Langford as an example. But bunting is just not emphasized as much as it once was. Now, I do think small ball is done in other ways. Situationally hitting, I've talked about this so much. Productive outs, runner on first and second, no outs. Ground ball right side, especially if you're a fast runner, right? Opposite field hit, drive it the other way. You've got a runner on third base with one out, drive the ball in the air. The Rangers have to get better at situationally hitting and manufacturing runs that way. Stealing bases, I do think they need to do more often. I don't know why the Rangers don't. I would be all over the stolen bases with the amount of speed that the Rangers have on their team right now. They have a lot of speed on the team. And Lord knows the Rangers have a ton of stolen bases against them. I was watching the game with my pops a few days ago, and I think it was, I don't know who we were playing over the weekend. I'm blanking on it live right now. Marlins. Marlins were stealing bases on us left and right. I think on Sunday, we managed to get one of them out, but teams are stealing bases on us frequently. And really, it's the pitchers. Jonah Heim is a great catcher. Most of the time when the Rangers get a base stolen off of them, you hear one of the radio guys or the TV guys saying, man, they got a great jump. If base runners are getting great jumps, that's a pitching thing, right? Pitchers aren't holding guys on well enough. And I don't know what our base running skill set is like if we're just not able to get those good jumps, those good reads out there. But I agree, we need to be stealing bases more, 100%. Now, as we look at the box score today, there's not really a lot notable. Corey Seager, though, probably the lone bright spot. Seager extends his on-base streak to 27 games. Simeon, I think they showed during the live broadcast, had a streak of 33, 34 a couple of years ago. So Siegs on a nice streak right now, getting on base. The hitting streak came to an end. He was on a 16-game hitting streak. He did go 0 for 3 tonight, so that comes to a close. But Seager, 27 straight games getting on base. Very, very impressive. Only other guys with a hit tonight, Simeon, infield single, I believe, Nate Lowe, and we had Zeke Duran and Jonah Heim laid down a bunt with the Detroit Tigers shifting, which, look, at this point, by all means. We've talked about Jonah Heim, though. Speaking of, good segue. Jonah Heim, last 15 games, hitting 151. Jonah Heim hitting 151 in his last 15 games, 182 OBP. You go to his last 7 games, it gets a little better. Jonah Heim in his last 7 games, 167 average, 200 OBP. That's not going to cut it when you've got guys out with an injury. And Jonah Heim is supposed to be an all-star catcher, drove in 95 RBIs. He is an all-star. Jonah Heim's got a gold glove. He's a great catcher. But let's be real, we need more from him, especially with guys not performing, especially with guys out. We need these all-stars, the guys that won gold gloves last year, the leaders of the team, to step up and perform when the team is hurting, especially right now hurting for runs in general. So I really feel like Jonah Heim, got to get more out of him, especially when you've got Jonah Heim hitting in that 5 spot, hitting in that 7 spot. I think it is essential that they get his back going. So right now, let's take a look at tomorrow's matchup. I think that's healthy to do. This game surely isn't worth going on and on about, but let's talk about tomorrow's matchup, and then we'll bring things to a close here. So right now, tomorrow, we've got Urania pitching, and he will be opposed by Kenta Maeda. And the Rangers actually played Kenta Maeda quite well. I think they were able to get to him pretty early in the game that they faced him in Detroit earlier this season. So there's some favorable matchups. There's some guys with some good career numbers against Kenta Maeda. Rangers have an off day on Thursday, so night game tomorrow. As we look at the career numbers, so we've got Doley, 2 homers off Maeda, 3 for 9 in his career. We've got, looks like Seager, 2 for 5 in his career. Simeon, 3 for 5 in his career with a homer. Leote, 1 for 3. Jonah Heim is 4 for 5 in his career off Maeda with a homer. So we've got a lot of guys that have faced Maeda in the past and have had success off of him. So tomorrow, hopefully, will be a day the offense can wake up. I know we keep saying that, but there's some good numbers that the Rangers have against Maeda. And even going back to a few weeks ago when we were in Detroit for that 4-game set, the Rangers did hit Maeda well. So I'm hopeful tomorrow is going to be a better day for the offense. On the other side, versus Urania, the Detroit Tigers have, looks like Baez with double-digit at-bats. Baez is 4 for 12 off Maeda. No homers, but 4 for 12 in his career. Other than that, Keith, the second baseman, 1 for 2. Rogers, the catcher, guy who had 2 bombs off us last night, he is 1 for 3. Not a lot of other guys with a ton of at-bats. There's a few guys with like 3, 4 at-bats, but not a lot of other at-bats in terms of seeing Urania a lot. I think maybe in relief, some of these guys saw him. Don't know if they saw him as a starter. But Urania's been pitching well, much like most of this Rangers staff. So I'm really thinking that tomorrow is going to be a good day for the Rangers to get a win. And then they'll be getting a nice little day off before the Giants come to town. Giants have been playing some pretty decent baseball, I think, of late. I'm going to go to the standings right now and check things out. So the Giants, in their last 10 games, actually, I was wrong. I must have been looking at another NL West team. But Giants actually are on a 6-game losing streak. Yeah, I was way off on that. So look, the Rangers may be getting some fortuitous timing here with the Giants coming to town in the midst of a pretty bad slump themselves. So I'm hopeful that the Rangers will be able to win tomorrow, go into the weekend series with the Giants, hopefully turn things around. I think I said at the beginning of the week, I would love for the Rangers to go 4-2. They're going to have to play really well to go 4-2 the rest of this week, but it's still possible, right? So right now you got to win 4 straight to go 4-2. Hopefully we can at least play 500 baseball this week and go 3-3. Around the league today, I believe there are some games that have already gone final. In fact, I think all games are final at this point. So the Mariners did top the A's today. So unfortunately, the Mariners gain another game in the AL West. And we'll go through the standings here in just a little bit. But they beat the A's in Oakland 4-3. The Angels beat the Padres tonight 4-2. And the Astros, looks like, did they play today? Man, the Astros did. They beat the Cardinals 8-5. Sorry, couldn't find them for a second on the scorecard. By the way, Astros lost, I believe, Javier today to Tommy John surgery. So big loss for them. So that is definitely something the Rangers have been dealing with. We lost, obviously, Jacob deGrom to Tommy John last year. So I got to say, I never want any guys, even on a team like the Astros, a team I don't like very much, to get hurt. But I will say that it's nice that the Rangers aren't the only ones dealing with these injuries. Don't feel totally left out. I mean, the Mariners right now, I think, are pretty healthy, and it's a big reason they're in first place. But look, don't want to see guys go down with Tommy John surgery. But if I'm being a little bit selfish, a little bit not caring about feelings, I'm kind of glad to see the playing field get evened out. I'm not going to lie to you guys. So I'm glad we're not the only ones dealing with injuries. That being said, want to go through the standings and then get us out of here for tonight. And looks like in the AL West, we've got Mariners 35-27, and they are 5.5 games up now. 5.5 games up on a little 4-game win streak. We've got the Houston Astros 7 games back of the Mariners. A's are 11 games back. Angels 11.5. And that's the breakdown. So, man, I'll tell you what, tomorrow, got to be better than today, right? Got to be better than today. Mavs will be playing on Thursday, so that'll be nice. Hopefully, on some of these tough Rangers nights, we can get some good Mavs games to help cheer things up. But I'm still hoping the Rangers can get on a run here. Won 5 of their last 8. That's the good news. But they've lost the last 2 to the Tigers, games that they probably could have won. It sucks. That's how baseball goes sometimes. I'll check comments real quick, and then we'll get out of here. Yep, late night session. I might be going a little bit later on some of these night games, especially when the games start at 5. Probably will be going a little bit later if I had to guess. But, summertime, my hours are a little bit different than usual. But thanks for hanging. I know a lot of people watch on the replay, but I appreciate everybody tuning in live. Means a lot. Thank you so much. Let me get to a couple other comments here, and then we'll take off. Yeah, Langford, definitely. Here's another one from Natalie on YouTube. Langford, if he refigures out how to get the ball in the air, it'll help. I agree. He needs to be driving the ball. When he is hitting those extra base hits and hitting with power, that's when you know that he's in a groove, that he's kind of unlocked, so to speak. So we're hoping that happens for Langford. Really hoping that happens. If Langford could become the 1 through 5 hitter that we all expected him to be coming into the season, I think that Josh Young, him getting added back with a hot bat and Wyatt Langford would help solve a lot of issues. I really do. Well, all right, y'all. Tomorrow we'll have a video out probably sometime early afternoon on our system, betting 1 cent on Texas Rangers money line for every follower. It's not going great right now, but the season is still pretty young, not even at the halfway mark. We're not giving up hope. We're hanging in there, fighting the good fight. That video will be out probably early afternoon. All right, y'all. As I like to say at the end of every live, if you'd be so kind, if you're not following already, you're not subscribed to the channel, please follow. It would mean a lot to me. And if you know somebody, know a Rangers fan that loves baseball, just maybe loves baseball in general, doesn't even have to be a Rangers fan, please share this video with them. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. And as we always say here at Right On Rangers, God bless. Go Rangers. Hope y'all have a great rest of your Tuesday night. Hope to see you tomorrow after hopefully a Rangers win. If not, maybe sometime later this week or on the replay. Good night, y'all.